I received a lot of questions from people asking me how I am even going about teaching myself UX. Well, here's what I'm doing. Yo, what is up? It's been a minute since I've posted, and I'm going to share a little bit about why that's been. But if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Lizzie. I am 25 years old. Back in January this year, I resigned from my job with the Massachusetts State Senate to teach myself UX design. And the point of my videos is to document my experience as candidly as possible of this entire process of breaking into UX right now. In today's video, I am going to be providing a 6-month update. Oh my god, 6 fucking months. I have no idea where the time has flown, but here we are. So I'm going to be breaking up this video into 3 segments. In the first part, I'm going to be sharing where I am currently at in terms of my UX learning journey. The second part is going to be me sharing next steps in my UX journey in the month ahead. And the third part is going to be me sharing everything that has been going on in my life right now beyond UX that has been making the UX learning a little bit more challenging in terms of time management these past few weeks, but I'll also be sharing how I have figured out a system in order to balance it all. Also, let me please emphasize that I am not saying that I am someone that has figured it out and I am now sharing a hidden formula to break into the field right now, because that's totally not the case. I am just a 25-year-old that is scrappy, hardworking, and has built out a plan for herself, and I'm just share with you what I have figured out so far. And so your journey to UX might look a little bit different from mine, or a lot different, and that's totally okay. Everyone has their own path, and please don't even compare your own path to mine, because comparison is a thief of joy, so there is no use of doing that. Just learn from some of the mistakes that I'm making in my journey right now so you don't have to make those mistakes for yourself. Okay, now let's talk about where I am currently at in my UX journey now that I'm 6 months in. So I received a lot of questions from people asking me how I am even going about teaching myself UX. Well, here's what I'm doing. I basically UX'd my UX learning. So what I mean by this is that I thought about the overarching idea of the design thinking process. So for me, it's more important to have the foundation than to dive into technical stuff, which can be learned later. The approach I'm taking to learn UX is to first just have a solid understanding of design thinking. And so the way that I'm learning that is that I'm using the EDIPT design methodology to guide what I learn in UX. And if you don't know what this model is, it's basically just a standardized methodology used in the design space to solve for complex problems. It's an acronym, so E stands for empathize, D stands for define, I stands for ideate, P stands for prototype, and T stands for testing. Now, design thinking is an iterative process, and so this is basically the pillars to the design process. And once you start to learn these pillars, you can then break down what is it within those pillars that you need to learn. For me, it makes sense to learn UX in this way because it's important for me to really understand why is it that I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And this method of learning works really well for me because I'm also a very hands-on learner. I definitely am reading books right now and reading articles from Medium.com and Nielsen Norman Group and a bunch of others. I'm learning a lot of principles of design through all those resources, but for me, it just doesn't click in my brain if I don't apply it to a real life application. So if you're following my journey, you know that I have luckily secured a real life UX pro bono project in which I am assigned as the UX designer for a state senator to redesign his website. And it's been really cool to work on this project in tandem with my learning because I have then been able to apply the EDIPT model to this project and have been learning just along the way. I'm actually going to be handing off my deliverables to the development team by the end of this month. So I'll actually be seeing this product launched on the World Wide Web and have actual real users use it and hopefully make meaningful impact in people's lives. It's actually been really fun and I've been learning so much. I'm hella grateful that I've been able to work on this project in tandem with my learning. Now let me also briefly talk about books. So in my previous video, I talked about how I'm not a bookworm, but I also mentioned that I was super inspired by something that Chris Do, who, if you don't know who he is, he's a leader in the design space. He mentioned on a Clubhouse call about this 5 book to 1 subject matter ratio to build subject expertise. Even as someone that's not a bookworm, 5 books to build knowledge around 1 subject is so doable. Listen, this ratio is so not intimidating that I am now 4 books into the 5 books that I set out to read. And so the books that I have read are Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug, The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman, Lean UX by Jeff Gothel, and Mismatched by Kat something too. I'm really bad with authors, but I'm going to list the books and their corresponding authors in the description. Oh my goodness. My perspective on books have completely shifted now just because these books offer such guiding principles into thinking about design that it really is worthwhile for you to spend at least some time with some of these books just to build that knowledge and understanding of the design principles. I also received a lot of questions about what material I am using to learn UX design. It's really a Mod Podge of a lot of different resources, but I have been super reliant on Medium articles and Nielsen and Norman group articles. I also have been using some UX Starter Kit documents that have been shared with me, and I'm happy to share those with y'all too. I'll also link those in the description. Okay, now let me share with you my plan for the next steps for the month ahead in my UX journey. So now that I am just a few weeks away from wrapping up my first UX project, I am now thinking about what might my second project be. And I am doing this for 2 reasons. One is that because the first UX pro bono case has proven to be such a success for me to learn in tandem with it, that I want to do that again. So basically rinse and repeat so that I can just build on top of the existing learning that I already have been doing with a second project. And the second reason why I am going to be introducing a second project into my learning curve is because I'm going to use it in my UX portfolio for when I am job ready. If you're thinking about pivoting into UX design, what you should know is that when you are job ready, you should also have prepared a UX design portfolio which demonstrates your UX skill sets. When I started out with my UX career journey back in January, I made a flexible timeline for me to be job ready by the summer. As of right now, where I stand with my learning curve and my UX portfolio, I am on track to be job ready by the end of the summer. Now, my second project isn't going to be a real life case. It's going to be a hypothetical case that I develop. I am being very intentional with what the hypothetical app that I create is going to be. Now, this is important because I've received advice from mentors that it's going to be to your best interest if you figure out what sort of industry you want to UX for. This is kind of difficult if you're just starting out learning UX, but it is integral for you to start thinking about these sort of things because when you are job ready, it's just going to make the job process for you a lot easier because you have already focused in on a specific industry, and that will narrow down the specific organizations that you want to work for, and that will then narrow down the job listings that you apply for. Now, some people say that applying is a numbers game, which in part I do agree it is, but I think that it is very strategic for you to put your energy and time into specific jobs so that when the opportunity to interview does arise, that you are fully prepared for it in terms of having proof that you are interested and have somewhat experience around this in your portfolio pieces. Okay, so now back to how I'm going to further my UX learning in the next month. So beyond the learning that I'm going to be doing in tandem with my second portfolio piece, I am going to continue to read books, continue to read medium.com articles, continue to read Nielsen Norman Group articles, and I'm going to start dabbling into websites like Coursera or Skillshare for videos on more complicated design topics like design systems. Now, beyond my portfolio and beyond my UX learning, kind of tying a little bit back to the job hunt, I am setting a timeline for me to be job ready by the end of the summer. That means that I'll have a completed portfolio by the end of the summer and have nailed down a pretty good way of storytelling my portfolio pieces. That also means that I want to be prepared with interviewing skills. And so if you've also followed my past videos, you would recall that I had applied for a UX apprenticeship program with this company called HubSpot. I luckily received an opportunity to interview with them, but I wasn't prepared to receive this opportunity, and so that's where I flopped. What I'm learning is that the faster that you fail, the faster that you learn. To me, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and I was fortunate enough to have this opportunity, but I wasn't prepared to receive that opportunity. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this, and me failing that interview and getting rejected from the opportunity was just the momentum that I needed to get on top of my interview preparation so that when the next opportunity that arises, I will be prepared to take it on. The action steps I'm going to be taking in the next month in order to prepare for interviews is every week I'm going to spend a few hours to practice my interviewing skills. So that pretty much sums up what my plan for the next month will look like in terms of furthering my UX learning as well as job preparation. Now let me share with you everything that has been going on in my life that has been making my UX learning a little bit hard to manage over the past few weeks, but then also to offer what has been helpful for me to actually build out a system that allows me to balance it all. Let's just start with a major change in my personal life right now, which is my grandparents from Vietnam are immigrating to America in about a few months, and so there is going to be a lot of changes within this household. Part of it is the physical change of just moving things around to make space for my grandparents, but there's also the emotional support that comes along with this sort of transition. This is a really big change for my mom because she immigrated to America about 26 years ago, and that means that for about 26 years she has been separated from her parents. And we have been fortunate enough to visit Vietnam about every 5 years over the past 2 decades, and it's been nice for her to reconnect with them that way. But I mean, just imagine how little time that is in the grand scheme of things. It's just been a very emotional time for my mom, and I'm just trying to be there for her. And then on top of that, there is this financial aspect that is challenging. So my background is low socioeconomic. My mom is basically working a minimum wage job right now, and I'm in between jobs right now because I'm making this career change, and she is so generously supporting me throughout this entire process, and I've been able to move back home and pay minimum amount to help out with the mortgage. There's this sense of responsibility in me as a daughter to kind of step up and provide some more financial support than I already am. And so, you know, I am doing a part-time job right now, and I have 2 side hustles apart from that, but those are more inconsistent. Right now, I'm starting to feel the pressure to need to find another means to make money just to help support the household come summer time. So that's just been really heavy on me, but don't get me wrong, I'm actually super stoked for my grandparents to come. I didn't have that childhood of having your grandparents around, and I am excited to just get time to bond with them. And I don't know how much time do they have left on this earth, just to be realistic, and I want to take advantage of this opportunity. And I'm also just really excited just to see my mom spend more time with her parents. I think that will really warm my heart, and I'm really, really excited for that. The second thing that I want to talk about, which has been really heavy on me in the past few weeks, and also why I haven't been posting in the past few weeks, is that I know I talked about the rejection from the HubSpot apprenticeship program in a very positive and constructive way. I do also think that it's so okay for you to just let yourself feel feelings as they come, and then take a constructive way to move forward. The past few weeks, I did let myself wallow in these feelings of imposter syndrome and self-doubt to the point where it was debilitating for me. It really rang true to what a lot of people talk about the job hunting process, which is this emotional, turbulent component to it. And I think the reason why it impacted me so much was that I didn't understand at the time that interviewing is a skill set, and that I just didn't prepare myself enough to succeed in an interview. It took me a lot of time to just do a lot of reflection as to what may have happened that I was rejected. Of course, there's a few different ways to look at it. One is that there is just no telling why people or companies make decisions that they do with candidates. There are reasons outside of my control that led to me being rejected from the program. And then the other way that I looked at it was that what are things that are within my control, what I can do next time to increase my chances to be successful. In my past career in government, I had a specific way of selling myself, but now that I'm pivoting into a whole new industry, I have to understand that there is going to be a need and shift of how I interview and sell myself within UX related jobs. Now, all this is really great because, you know, it led me to where I am now, which I am now more understanding and giving myself a lot more kindness and grace about the rejection outcome that came from the apprenticeship program. But again, the faster that I fail, the faster that I learn, and I am now taking that in stride. That's why I am spending next month to be a lot more vigilant about preparing my interviewing skills, because again, it is a skill set. So I just gotta work on that while I do everything else that I gotta do. Okay, now the third thing that I would like to share with y'all that has been giving me a hard time with balancing everything is this new introduction of a social life. I'm not sure if y'all have heard of it, but it's something that's coming back now. Because the policies around COVID has been relaxed, especially in the Boston area, I've been able to meet up with a lot more of my friends and just catch up on so much lost time. But the thing is that I think because I have built out a schedule around UX without a social life, that now I have to kind of schedule time in for social stuff. And it's kind of weird because in a way I feel like I'm relearning how much time and energy it takes to socialize. And so now I just have to factor that in when I create my my new weekly routine. But listen, I'm not mad about that because I'm so glad that my social life is coming back and it's much needed because I've been so lonely. Okay, now let me share a little bit about how I have been able to establish a system in which I'm able to balance my UX studies now on top of everything that I just mentioned. So it does go back to a book that I have been reading, which is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And wow, I know that I said that I wasn't a book person, but I am like a non-bookworm turned bookworm. Let me just read off some quotes that are super relevant from the book itself because I already know that I'm going to butcher these quotes. So the author posits that goals are good for setting direction, but systems are best for making progress. Sometimes it's better to focus on systems and not the goal. When you have a good system in place that you're consistent with, all else will follow. He also says, your commitment to the process will show your progress. When people reach their designated goal, they often revert back to bad old habits. So rather falling in love with your goal, fall in love with the process of getting there. That will be sustainable. Find happiness in the process of the system you have in place, moving in the direction of your goal, instead of equating your happiness with the actual goal. And that way, you'll find happiness in all parts of the way, even after you've reached the goal and if you don't reach it. And so how this book has been very valuable in terms of allowing me to create a balance for all of this is that it goes back to what the author talks about in terms of having that consistent system in place, and then all else will follow. Because I know that there are just things that I need to do during the day, like learn UX, exercise, eat well, and setting time out for friends, setting time out for my mom, setting time out to interview, just setting time out to rest and I guess do hobbies too. There's so many things that I know I need to do in order to feel happy and fulfilled, that I can't just focus all on one thing like UX. I have to have a very well-rounded schedule, and once I have that schedule in place, that's going to be my system. So that's what really inspired me to sit down, pull up my Google Calendar, and actually start to time block my calendar weekly to fill in the things that I need to do and things that I want to do. I also really like the idea that the author draws on about finding happiness along the way to your journey to reaching your goals. The reason why I like this so much is because it really made me pause and take a step back and think about this past year. It made me realize that I placed my new UX career at the center of my world. Now that I am aware of it, I want to step away and shift my focus away from making UX the center of my world and just making it part of my world. The reason why I am making this big change is because this idea that the author posited also reminded me to just enjoy the present. When you focus too much on these goals that you set for your future, you oftentimes lose sight of what you have in the present. Something like a UX career will always be there for me in the future, but there are things in this lifetime that may not. So time and the people that I have in my life right now. So the new system that I have built out for myself, my world's actually going to be a lot more well-rounded now while I venture into UX. That pretty much sums up the 6-month update, and again, it's just so bizarre how fast time has flown. Just in hindsight now, I have learned so much, and especially now that I'm reaching the end of my pro bono case, I can confidently say that I'm a UX designer. For those that have reached out to me and shared with me your story of how you resonate with like my journey or how my journey has inspired you, that's so freaking crazy to me. I know that I intended my videos to do that, but like for it to actually be doing that is I'm getting emotional. Okay, I just hella appreciate it, and if you resonate with what I've said in this video, please continue to reach out to me and let me know. It really, really means a lot. If you haven't already joined the UX Design Struggle Bus community on Discord that I created, the link is in the description box below. It currently serves over 900 members from people across the entire globe, and essentially it's a social support network and a resource network. We host social events and we provide weekly events around UX career related things. And so if that's of interest to you, join the struggle bus because it is a fucking struggle to break into UX right now. You know it, I know it, we all feel it. Thanks so much for letting me share this online with y'all. Thanks again, and I will see y'all in my next videos. Later.